It's happening. It's happening like the Bible said. The Holy Scriptures foretold the signs of the last days prophecies, and now they're happening. There's more prophecy news updates around the signs of the last days prophecies. For now, we have this. Israel has launched another airstrike this week at another Iranian base in Syria. Reports say Israel carried out the attack on a military base south of Damascus, which was used by Iranian forces, which was reported to have missiles that were being aimed at Israel. This attack came about immediately after U.S. President Trump's announcement that the United States is pulling out of the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran. Israel's military, as usual, declined to officially comment on reports, but shortly after the attack, they said that they had identified irregular activity by Iranian forces in Syria and had went on high alert. The military had even instructed authorities in the Golan Heights bordering Syria to ready bomb shelters and mobilize some reservist forces. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said the Israeli attack on these military facilities had killed at least 15 people, including 8 Iranians. Flames could be seen illuminating the night sky in dramatic footage, apparently taken at the site of the attack.
8 of those deaths, more than half, are Iranian-financed Shiite militia members, according to a monitor. Here's new video of that deadly attack just into the I-24 newsroom. State media says that the country's air defense systems intercepted 2 Israeli missiles, but several others penetrated their targets. The target reportedly a depot of Iranian missiles. Israel, as usual, not confirming or denying an attack, but the attack came right after Israel identified, quote, abnormal movements of Iranian fighters in Syria.
Now, the strike can be seen as further escalating and inflaming tensions between Iran and Israel, putting their militaries on an eventual collision course. And relations have plunged even further into perilous territory this week when U.S. President Trump pulled the U.S. out of the Iran nuclear deal, increasing the risk of the prospect of conflict coming in the Middle East. Within minutes of Trump's announcement, the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF, had released a statement saying soldiers had been put on high alert for an attack, and troops had been told to be ready for all scenarios after the irregular activity of Iranian forces there in Syria was identified by the IDF, with Golan residents told to open their bomb shelters after sightings of the unusual troop movements in Syria, indicating preparations to fire missiles at Israel. Now, further reports out of Israel said that when the Israeli military identified these unusual movements of the Iranian forces, it believed that they were preparing for an imminent retaliation attack against Israel. And the sources also revealed how the U.S. warplanes and advanced surveillance drones are working around the clock to track the slightest military movements around Syria, which means U.S. intelligence is surveilling Iranian military movements in the region and working closely with Israel. What Israel is doing is this. They are preemptively confronting Iran now in Syria, endeavoring to undermine Iran's efforts to establish bases with weapons and troops that in the future could launch a scaled-up attack on Israel. But what Israel is doing, it will not work. No matter how many strikes Israel makes against Iran and Syria, it will not be able to stop Iran from having a presence at Israel's border. For we are now in the last days of prophecy. And we know this from the last days prophecies as Ezekiel 38. It foretells that Persia, or modern-day Iran, will be located at the borders of Israel, and that in time, they and their allies will launch a surprise attack on Israel. But the prophecy says that it ends badly. But now, sources in Israel are saying that Iranian Revolutionary Guard Quds Force Commander General Soleimani, who leads Iran's military operations in the region, is watching and waiting before going on the offensive. Yes, Tehran's verbiage and its rhetoric is coming out how strongly they're going to vow to even the score with Israel. But General Soleimani, the sources say, is watching and waiting before going on the offensive, saying that he will not act until he is sure of catching Israel and the IDF unawares. But right now, at this moment, Iran and Russia has forces that are in Syria adjoining Israel's border. Watch for more signs pointing to the reality of the coming fulfillment of the last days prophecies, with more actions and counteractions between Israel and Iran as tensions continue to escalate in the region toward last days prophetic fulfillment.